Um, although the world seems to be piling on at this point, Farhad Manjoo in the New York Times. Yeah. What's really missing from the new iPhone? Cutting-edge design. He's got a graphic of a guy yawning.
I mean, first it was my Porsche 911. It fits in the same garage as last year. And then it was my Rolex Submariner. It fits my wrist the same way. I don't know what I'm going to do anymore, Leo. This life's not worth it.
I think we're... I mean, okay, I understand what Farhad's saying. And I've certainly made the joke that it seems like Johnny Ive's been on sabbatical for a couple of years.
I mean, I love Farhad, but a couple of years ago, he did iPhone is the worst phone ever made. And 2 years later, iPhone is the best phone ever made. So I'm waiting for the 2 weeks before I pass any judgment on his reviews.
I haven't read the article, but I've been hearing lots of... I can't... on the one hand, my position has always been the same, that most people, that physical design of a phone, no matter what it is something they appreciate for the amount of time it takes for Amazon to deliver their new phone case, because they will put it in that that wonderful purple glitter gel rubber case that makes it their own, and then they don't care about it. So that's not a big thing to criticize Apple about. That said, I can't pretend that, hey, let's write 800 words about how the 2016 rounded rectangle is different from the 2015 rounded rectangle.
And yet, Apple's design. I mean, you can point to a few areas where Apple's design has left a little to be desired. The iPhone case with the bump battery. I think the ear snot is going to actually hurt. I think that's going to hurt the AirPods, because the technology is interesting, but I think people are very aware of what they look like. That's why Google Glass didn't take off. You look like a jerk.
No, that's not the same thing at all. It's like, will somebody not buy this phone because they wanted to have a Pininfarina like red stripe along the side of it?
That's the other side of this. There's not much you can do to this fondle slab.
It is illusory, though. The iPhone 6S was to the atom a complete rebuild. Like, they used different aluminum, they used different glass, they used different... That phone atomically was completely different. It just happened to be poured into the same mold. Right. And for that, they got a lot of heat. And now this year, again, like the jet black one, that's a completely new process. There's industrial design stuff being done with these phones that nobody on Earth is doing. But it's a round rect. Like, if you made it a triangle, it'd be exciting, but I think we've gotten to the point where these phones are pretty much like, I look at all of my phones, my Samsung phones that we have on Android Central, they're not that different every year. The HTCs that I love, they're not that different every year. I think we've come to an ideal form for phones.
Watch, because next year, if Apple makes a 10th anniversary iPhone that's dramatically different, people are going to say, "Oh, they're change for change's sake,"
or it won't be. I mean, it'll be a round rectangle with more glass on the front, like the Galaxy Note is.
You have to write something. You got those 800 words to fill. You got to write something.
Well, there are people who aren't serious about their business, and I feel as though to really complain about the fact that, like, this phone, the case is made out of plastic instead of something that there's a special video to explain the formulation of the special metal that went into it. If you're fascinated by that, if you run a design blog, great. But if you really think that the failure of this phone is due to the fact that the case is made out of plastic and not because it doesn't have as much operable RAM, system RAM as another phone, that's not a review that I'm interested in talking about. Similarly, if someone wants to be fascinated by... Again, what is to me is I write the line, it's an aluminum phone, I move on to the next line. I'm not fascinated by it's a special kind of magic aluminum that reduced weight by 1/10 of a gram and allows the case to be micro thinner.
Apple is, and I am, frankly. I think one of the things that's most interesting about Apple in these events has become the material science that they've started to use.
Who cares? Who really cares?
But it doesn't affect the functionality or the utility.
I'm glad that there are people that I'm not being sarcastic here. I'm glad that there are people that are such typography wonks that they can really get into. Here's why the new serifs in the San Francisco font are an important shift from the serifs in the predecessor font. Exactly. But I can say, okay, does it look pretty? Yes. Is it readable? Yes. Okay, I'm moving on. That's not something that most people are going to pay attention to. And again, they want to know, how fast will it take for an app to launch? When I want to take a picture, will that thing that's happening that I want to take a picture of be over with by the time I can actually have a live shutter button going? It's just
Walt Mossberg, Apple, the king of tech, taste, and daring, takes a breather. There is this pile-on going on of people, and I'm not sure they're far wrong. Farhad brings up You know, the Apple TV remote, which I think everybody will agree
that's a functional problem. That's embarrassing.
Is a bad functional problem. But part of it is I don't think the iPhone, I don't think Apple anymore is the same Apple of years back where they could take a category and completely turn it on its ear. I think this is a problem every company faces. When you start making a lot of money, you become wildly successful, there's increasing disincentive to rock the boat. You only rock the boat if you stay hungry and stay foolish, in Steve Jobs' phrase that he stole from Stuart Brand. He acknowledged it.
Great artist. Great artist.
Great artist. No, he acknowledged it. He always said it was Stuart Brand that said it. It's the back of the Whole Earth catalog. But it's hard to stay hungry and foolish if you're the most successful company in the history of companies. That's inevitable. And no one would expect you to do differently. If you're fat and happy, why should you be saying, we've got to take this industry and set it on its ear? It just doesn't happen.
I'll counterpoint to that by saying the Mac Pro, which that you talk about needing courage. That was a courageous thing to do because it was not the device that the people who are saving up for a new Mac Pro wanted. It's not a shape we've seen in a high-performance machine ever. The move to not just 4K but 5K displays, not something that any consumer had said. Consumers saying, please let us have this new Intel CPU that my friends have had in their games for a year now. But they know let's give you a 5K display, basically making it the most wonderful one screen editing suite for photos and video ever. So I think I think that they've lost their excitement for new shapes. Obviously, you can see that the fact that they went for a high gloss black finish, which is really hard to do, a white ceramic watch, which is really hard to do. They're more fascinated by pushing the envelope and how can we manufacture this in bulk instead of making this as a limited luxury item where we can afford to throw out 100 of these. Let's make this a mass culture device with this piano black finish, even though we know that it's not going to look as good as it left the factory until the moment that it actually hits air or anything like that. So they do stuff. This is why I kind of wish that Apple still had that Apple catalog they had. Remember from the 90s where they had an Apple brand logoed sailboard and Apple branded jackets? Because I'm
glad they're not doing that.
I would like to see that if someone inside that design studio has a really great idea for a pen, I would love for me to be able to go into an Apple store and for $50, not for $1,000, buy, here is a really awesomely designed pen that we designed because we just had this really interesting design idea and we decided to go ahead and make it.